This week on the True Geordie podcast, the man I idolised for my entire childhood. He was the Newcastle and England captain and the all-time Premier League top goal scorer. And his name is Alan Shearer.
I had the best job in the world, if you can call it a job. I'd have played football if I didn't get paid for it.
Like, I don't think many men in Newcastle wouldn't let you sleep with their wife. Like, it's that bad.
There was a few numbers there, wasn't there?
I bet you've had the offers, let's be honest. Would Neil Lennon agree with that?
Oh, he deserved it. I mean, he was stupid for headbutting my foot, wasn't he? So.
Yeah.
Did you really chin Keith Gillespie?
Yes. And he deserved it.
Yeah.
And he agrees he deserved it.
Really?
So Bobby was a genius at man management. But because you're a footballer, because you have so much money, you're expected to handle everything. Well, sometimes footballers are normal as well, you know. I was always reluctant to say how it was and be as upfront and critical as I should have been, because
Why do you think it was?
Well, because I thought if I'm going back into football, into management, and I'm criticising left, right and centre on the TV, and then I go into management and you can look a bit of an idiot. So I always held back. He let me down, he let the club down, and then I just thought it was my time to say a few home truths, and I did in the dressing room. Told him what I thought, told him what everyone else was thinking and saying, and that was it. I never saw him again after that.
Really, he just didn't come back to
No, I didn't want him back.
Okay.
It is his money, but if he doesn't want to be there and if he doesn't want to spend, then let someone else come on in and let someone else take it over.
How did you deal with losing such a good friend?
No, it was very difficult because I was with him the day before he did it, and everything seemed fine.
Bringing me prop out here because he asked us last time I seen him to show him this. This week on the True Geordie podcast,
Well, look at that.
these two fellas, 20 years older, a lot less hair,
Yeah.
still just as handsome.
What about you?
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, mate.
Debate. Look at that.
Me Nana took that. She took 3, and this was the only one without a thumb. Like, because you know when old people take photos on the old cameras, it was a nightmare.
What's caught your attention there as well?
What went wrong?
Who's gone?
That
Alan,
was-
you've gone. Oh, what? Sorry.
Yeah.
Must have been a couple of cameras there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a
Nice
good picture though.
Yeah,
That's a lovely shot.
yeah. I got one.
One of us looks better anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
You do look much better.
I was the biggest 10-year-old on the planet.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest.
Genuinely, you were.
Is that all you were there?
Yeah, I was 10 years old.
What I love as well is you played for Newcastle in the time when they had the best kids.
That was when Kenny Dalglish signed his son. I remember saying to his son, like, what are you?
Paul, yeah.
He got quite lucky to be in that. His dad, good jobs for the boys a little bit there. So,
come on.
We'll get on to that.
You look after your son then, why not?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was coming down today and I thought to myself, I don't really know you as a bloke. Like, I've worshipped you, like most lads from Newcastle my whole life. But like, when you're on the telly, you're always talking about football. You're always talking about what happened. So hopefully we can dig a little deeper today, Alan.
Why not? Good luck.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of footballers who, they put their lives all over the papers and that, and like, they're trying to get their personality out there. You were like England captain when David Beckham was the posh and Becks and his whole family are out there. You took the complete opposite road of, you know, just keep yourself to yourself, good family man. But if your family walked past most people in the street, we wouldn't know who they were. Was that like a deliberate thing to sort of...
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think I just wasn't for me, wasn't for them. I think you have to keep something back. And as much as you get offered over the years, then I just think it's important to keep a little bit of privacy. You can't moan about that side of things if you're inviting everyone into your house and everyone onto your holidays, and that's never interested me. And I think it's very, very important to keep one side of your life private anyway, because it's difficult enough anyway. They necessarily don't want the limelight. I'm in it. I enjoy it. I love it. But I don't think the whole family should do it.
You think when they become old enough, because I think your daughters went into presenting, and your lads just so funny to be honest, on Twitter and that. But that should be their choice in their own time. Not
if they want to do that now, then they're old enough. If they want to do it, they can. My 2 daughters are 25 and 23 now. So if they want to go down that route now, then obviously you can do that. My son is 17, and he's the same. He might do it more than the daughters, but it's their own choice now. I just felt it was important to keep it whilst they were young to keep that side of it private.
What do they think of their dad being Alan Shearer? It must be quite a weird.
It's just normal for them. They've had to. They've grown up with that. They don't. I'm just their dad, and I think that's what is good about it. Is that when I go home, I don't see myself as someone important. I'm just a normal guy, hopefully, and people will see me for that. I try to do normal things. I don't do anything different to the guy on the street. I go for a pint. I go for something to eat. Sometimes I've too much to drink, but I think that's what you have to do, just to try and be as normal as possible. So that's the way my kids see me, I think.
For me, growing up, I owe you a thank you, to be honest, because you were a cracking role model. Like, I actually thought to myself, like, he's a Geordie bloke, he's doing great for himself. It's possible, do you know what I mean? And
I never set out to be a role model. I never. That wasn't a conscious. I just try to do things right. I was brought up the right way, I think.
That's instilled in you.
My mum and dad worked their arse off to give us, me and my sister, everything we had. My dad worked in a factory from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock every single day, and I think that was instilled in me, as in hard work, be on time, respect. So that's all I try to do. And if that, I don't know if people see that as being a role model, and then that's fine, that's great, but I just try to be as normal as possible.
I think there's something about watching a parent who obviously you love struggle a bit. It's hard to forget that when you get success yourself, you it keeps you grounded. That memory alone of don't get too above your station.
Well, I know who would be the first person to tell me. It would be my dad if I ever did that. I mean, even still now to this day, my mum still drops my dad off at the pub, picks him up from the pub. His dinner's ready when he comes in from the pub, as it was ready all the time when he finished work at 5 o'clock. So that's the way I was brought up, and that's who I am.
Like, one thing I realised when I started getting popular myself in Newcastle is it's great because everyone, especially if you're in football, people love you and everyone wants a photo with you. And I'm nowhere near as popular as you, but I'm quite well known these days. And everyone has a Alan Shearer moment. Like, if you spot him in the street, or like, you're the player everyone talks about. And I started thinking when I knew this was coming, like, it couldn't have been easy all the time, because one thing I realised is people have some people, he's this, that, and he thinks he's this, and because some people don't like to see people doing well for themselves, even if they are from the same area as you. Was it ever quite difficult at times, being Newcastle is so football focused and you were a god?
No. I had the best job in the world, if you can call it a job. I'd have played football if I didn't get paid for it. So to play football and be half decent at it and be recognised, I hear all the stories. I hear someone say, well, he didn't do this or he didn't do that, but you know what rumours are like in Newcastle. It's
Are you aware of it though? Like, when you walk into a shop or whatever, like, the whole room goes, like, it is like that. I'm sure it must be.
No, you're aware of it, and you can see it's quite funny really when you walk past someone, you can see someone tapping someone, you watch them, but I suppose you get used to that. It's the greatest job in the world to get paid to play football. As I said, I would have played football if I got anything. I'd have done it on a Saturday or Sunday with my mates. So to be paid for it, and paid bloody well for it, is the best job in the world. It doesn't get any better than that. So there's no way you can ever moan about being a professional footballer. The time to moan is afterwards, when your knees are knackered and your ankles and your back and everything else, and that's the side that people perhaps don't see, is that for 20 years you're training every single day, you're having injections in your ankle or your knee to get out and play, but what always comes back to you is, well, so you should do because you're on that much money, but I'd still do it if I wasn't getting any money. But then afterwards, when you get to 36 or 47 like I am now, and your knees are knackered and your ankles and you struggle to walk upstairs.
Do you feel it quite a lot these days?
Yeah. My knees are shot. I can't go out running on concrete or anything like that because my knees and ankles and back and everything else are all seized up. So yeah, that's the side that people don't see.
So now you're a pundit. I kind of thought, like, being a Newcastle player and scoring as many goals you did, no one could ever complain at you or disagree because you always delivered. But a pundit, everyone's got an opinion and everyone can disagree. And I know for a few years, I think now people say, all right, you're one of the best there is, but early on you got a lot of stick.
No, I got that, I understood that, and probably rightly so, because I always thought I was going to go into management. I was pretty certain I was going into management, and I was always reluctant to say how it was and be as upfront and critical as I should have been, because because I thought if I'm going back into football, into management, and I'm criticising left, right and centre on the TV, and then I go into management and you can look a bit of an idiot. So I always held back. But then once the decision was made that the management thing wasn't going to happen, then I knuckled down, worked hard, took advice, and then started to get stuck into it and graft at it. And even I don't mind saying now, I think I'm a little bit better now than I was when I first started. So, but it takes time. It's pretty daunting. Although you've played in front of 70,000-80,000 with England and 52,000 every week with Newcastle and won the Premier League, and then you sit on live TV knowing that you can't make a mistake, you can't swear, because when you're out in the pub with your mates or on the golf course or whatever, you'll say whatever, but you can't do that on live TV once, and then that's it, you're finished. So it's pretty nerve-wracking to begin with on live TV, but of course you get the adrenaline rush whatever happens when you finish football, and that's probably why so many players get into trouble when they retire, because I think they go chasing the drug, chasing that adrenaline rush, as in scoring or walking out in the stadium or winning a game. And the one thing you, as a footballer, you have to understand is you're never getting that. Whatever you do in your life, you're never getting the biggest buzz as you get on a football pitch ever again. And the one good thing about live TV is it gives you that adrenaline rush. Not as much, but it gives you something. And I've been very fortunate to go from playing football to be paid, and now talking about football to be paid. So I'm one hell of a lucky guy.
On the biggest, another one of the biggest TV shows in England as well, Match of the Day.
Well, it's iconic, isn't it? It's that. I mean, the viewing figures for Match of the Day are just brilliant. I mean, you're in the millions. You're talking 5 or 6 million over a weekend that watches that program. I watched it as a kid. Couldn't wait for it as a kid. My dad watched it. My son's exactly the same now. With probably turns off when I'm on it, but he's the same now with Match of the Day. So it's such an iconic program that it is the best.
What's it like working with Wrighty and Lineker particularly, because they crack
great fun? Yeah, Wrighty's as mad as everyone thinks he is. Probably a little bit more. The days are a lot shorter with Wrighty in the studio than with anyone else, because it's just. You're just taking the piss all day, really. You're just having a laugh and a joke, and in the meantime trying to watch a little bit of football added on.
Because when you come to do the show, you have so much knowledge and information about the games. How do you manage to get that throughout the day? Do you get help and stuff like that? Or?
No, you've got to do your own research. You've got to know what you're talking about. It's a typical day for Match of the Day is I leave Newcastle at about 8:30 Saturday morning, get down to Manchester, to Media City in Salford at about 11:30. Watch the first game coming at 12:30. Take your notes and sit with the analyst guys. Watch the games coming in at 3:00. Watch the other games. Do the same. Take notes. Give it to the guys. Same again at 5:30, and then we go into the editing suite at about 8:00 for an hour or so.
And you'll be in the editing suite?
We're in the editing suite, talking through all our notes, what we've given during the day, what we're going to do on every game, your lines, your dots, your circles, what you intend to
so
to
you
say.
hear each other what you're going to say. Do you ever run through that with each other and say, I'll say this and then you can say that a little bit?
No, not necessarily. No, it's that's more ad-libbing during the show, and then we'll finish that at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then go on live at 10:30. And finish at midnight, back in the car, back to Newcastle, home at about 3:00 in the morning. But I think the big thing is what a lot of people say to me is, "Oh, it's live." People think we record it at 6 or 7 o'clock, and well, it's a live program. Goes out at 10:30, finishes at midnight. Yeah,
And that shows it's a good sign if people don't realise it's live, because that well.
Not many
machine,
mistakes,
isn't
then
it?
exactly.
Do you ever have any afters with like the lads? Like, because I've seen you disagree with people before, and you famously shut your main Janice down not long ago. Was he a little bit like? Have you ever had people huffed about it afterwards? Like, oh, you could have.
No, not really, because that's your chance. I mean, that's what they want. The TV is people to have a disagreement, to have a discussion on that particular topic, whatever you're talking about, and you can give your opinion, I can give mine. It's you don't have to always agree. In fact, that's what I said. They want people to disagree. So the more chat you have, or the more disagreements you have, the better TV it is.
What are your notes like? So what are you making notes on? Are you predominantly looking at the strikers? Or are you
No, you got to look at everything.
team?
I mean, it's very difficult looking when you've been doing it for 11 years as I've been doing it now to do something different every Saturday on a different team. So you've always got to try and find a different angle to what someone else is looking at, whether it's defending, whether it's set pieces, or going forward, or the midfielders. I think you've always got to try and find something different to talk about, because you can't keep coming out with the same stuff every Saturday night.
Yeah, and I guess that's
It does
part
get
of the
boring
trick.
saying Crystal Palace are shit every week, doesn't it?
It does get boring for you, apparently.
It's true. So
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah,
not
it's
even on
true
the
in a
show.
minute,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then it's also quite interesting because obviously we've had people like Dan Hardy, who's a UFC fighter, on the show, and he said when he became an analyst, his view of fighting, his knowledge got so much better. Do you think you were originally as a pundit watching from a striker's perspective, and then over time you've expanded your view? How have you seen your own evolution of your own
No, I think
knowledge?
that's the easy side for me, because if I don't know what I'm talking about with strikers, then I shouldn't really be on the be on the program. That's the easy part, looking at the centre forwards, what runs they should or shouldn't be making, or where they should be when a cross comes in, or the hold up play, their touch, whatever. That's the easy side of it. Is when you start analysing defending, or very difficult with goalkeeping because we've never been in that position, or different systems. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult. Then I've got to look into it a little bit more. But regarding the strikers bit, that's pretty natural to me, and it should be.
Do you ever feel a little bit because it's obviously different for every striker? So you'll see runs that maybe another striker wouldn't want to make. You know, Jermaine Defoe's going to make different runs to you. Do you ever see yourself thinking, I wish he was doing that, and think, wait, no, that's not punditry, that's me saying what I would.
Yeah, but then you don't mind that. You don't mind saying, well, this is what I would have done, but he's very different. And I think what you've always got to try and do is you've got to try, because we can all sit back and watch TV and watch a match, and and everyone can see it. What we've got to try and do is try and tell the viewer something that they can't see, something different, and then you go, oh, okay, well, yeah, I get why you're saying that, or I didn't see that, and that's what we've got to try and do every Saturday.
Analysis was quite different though when it wasn't all that long ago. I'm talking as if it was 100 years ago.
Keys and Gray didn't have the the stats and all of that.
They don't have two brain cells rubbed together. The point is that if you do back in the day it was very much sort of, well, he had a lovely game, didn't he? He had a lovely game, Gary. Yes, it was a lovely game. Did you ever feel that people unfairly criticise you as a striker, or you?
It never bothered me.
No,
never bothered me one bit. I didn't give a shit what people said, because I knew whether I'd had a poor game or not. I didn't need anyone to tell me. And if they did say I was crap, then you got to admit and say, well, okay, I was.
Yeah.
That's part and parcel of football. And there's more, because of social media, because there's more TV programs than ever with matches on or highlights on nowadays. Then if you can't handle criticism, then you're never ever going to make it as a footballer.
Yeah.
Particularly nowadays, is that it's out there for everyone to see on so many different channels, and you've just got to accept it. Criticism, you can't please everyone, and certainly when you're trying to talk to different fans, it's forgive the pun, but it's black or white, isn't it? It's either they're the biggest fans ever. It's their club. They're their players, their manager, and if you say anything against their club, then they're going to come back at you.
Yeah.
It's just, that's life.
I thought it was interesting what you were saying earlier, how you grew up as a massive fan, as a lot of Geordie lads did, of Alan. When you were growing up, who was your...
Well, I was no different. My hero was Kevin Keegan. I stood I went to watch his debut at St James's Park, queued up from 9 o'clock in the morning, was on the Gallagher end watching him when he scored, got thrown forward like everyone else, and lost all my mates in the crowd who I'd gone with. 12-year-old, I think I was 11 or 12, and it was one of my first games. So Keegan was my hero. I used to stand outside my school at Gosford Centre along the main road there, and we knew what time he was going to come past in his car. He'd come back in his Jaguar, and we were all stood at the top of the school waiting for him to go by. He used to give us a wave, and so I understand how it works. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been there as a kid. I had my heroes. I used to follow him, so I get it now that when people say to me how much you mean to the young kids, I understand it.
No, like I don't think many men in Newcastle wouldn't let you sleep with their wife. Like it's that bad.
Give us a few numbers then, will you?
I bet you've had the offers. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's like it's mental how like what I don't think people outside of Newcastle don't get is Arsenal have Thierry Henry, Man United had Beckham and Ronaldo and whatever, but you were a diamond in a pile of shit, and not only that.
I feel similar with Steven Gerrard. That's exactly what I thought, yeah.
And you were ours as well. You were one of us. So, and because you didn't leave us, even though we couldn't get, like it was like a husband staying with a wife, even though we didn't have sex with you. Do you know what I mean? Like you stayed regardless, and that is like people don't forget that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, it was my football club, innit? I grew up, as soon as I could walk, basically, a ball was chucked at me and a black and white top was basically put on me. So you have no choice. As the same growing up in Liverpool, I'm pretty sure, because I lived in Liverpool for 4 years, and it's very similar to what Newcastle is, the people. And I had a choice to come back home, and I wanted to play for my club. And if you give me the same decision to make tomorrow at the same age, I would do exactly the same, because for what I've got in Newcastle, what I've achieved, the foundation, it was my dream. It wasn't as if I was signing for a club that was playing relegation football. It was a club that had just lost a 12-point lead or whatever as the year beforehand in 95-96 season. So I was going to a club that was challenging, but for whatever reason it didn't happen. But for me to wear the number 9 shirt, for me to break Jackie Milburn's record, Jackie Milburn was my dad's hero, and so for me to go back to my area and in front of my parents break my dad's hero's record, and so what he means to so many people in Newcastle, then I would make exactly the same decision tomorrow if I had to.
I believe that, because I know I would have done the same if I was you. But just going back to punditry, I was wondering, is there any pundit that you watch across all the channels that you think he's my sort of favourite guy to listen to about football?
No.
Just yourself, and that's it. But he's down to earth. Like he's down to earth.
He fast forwards on when Ian Wright's chatting. He's like, "This is rubbish." Yeah.
I don't listen to all that shit. I just watch the match.
Alright, so go back. You were talking about when you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
At what point did you realise, I'm pretty good at football?
I thought I was pretty good then. And then I got the offer to go down to Southampton as a 13-year-old.
Was it Jack Hickson?
There was an old fella who sadly is no longer with us, passed away a few years ago. He went and asked my parents after it was either a City game or a boys club game, I like the look of your son, I would like to invite him down to Southampton for a trial. And typical of my parents said, well, why are you asking us for? Go and ask him. So he did, and then myself and 6 or 7 of us went down to Southampton for a trial in one of the school holidays, and I loved it. It was brilliant. But then when I got down there, because I was probably the best in my school, maybe the best at the boys club, when I got down there, then everyone from around the country came together, and I thought, I'm not as good as I thought I was here, and so I had to step up a bit. Signed schoolboy forms for Southampton at 14, which you could do then, 14 to 16, and then was on the brink. And I remember there was a game that we had, one of the last games down in Southampton as a 15-year-old. I scored a hat-trick in one of the very last games, which I think made the decision for Southampton to ask me to sign as an apprentice. Wow. Which meant I had to leave home at 15 and go and live in Southampton on my own. That was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my career. Got away from everything being done for me, got away from some of my mates who were wrong-uns. had to grow up, had to live on my own. Although I was in digs.
That's young though, isn't it? 15.
Yeah,
to grow up, most people.
I remember.
I know people who are 35 still living with their parents. Do you know what I mean?
That helped me sort of be the way I was, and I remember pulling away out the station, Central Station, and my mum and dad standing on the platform waving. I could see my mum getting upset, and I'm thinking, geez, am I doing the right thing here? But it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because it wasn't as if I could come home every weekend, because we couldn't afford the train fare home. We were only on 25 quid a week on a YTS scheme. We got a bus pass, but I didn't used to get the pass. I used to go and collect the money, because I only lived half a mile from the Dell as it was in Southampton, so I only had to walk, so that was an extra few quid for me. But I couldn't jump on the train or the car or whatever and come home, because I was homesick, so I had to grow up pretty fast, and it worked for me. It was a great decision.
But it's a good living with all the lads. I imagine it would be like being in the army a little bit.
Well, I lived on my own and with another family to begin with for about a year, and then another guy from Darlington, Neil Madison, he came to live in digs with me as well, and we had a great laugh. It was brilliant. As I said, we only lived half a mile around the corner from the ground, so we used to walk in the mornings. But those were the days on the apprenticeships where you had to clean the toilets, the stands, the boots. You weren't allowed in the first team dressing room until you were actually either cleaning it or you were in there because you were playing, and that gave us a great incentive for us to try and get in there, and they did things right at Southampton with their record over the years, long before me, that their record of bringing kids through even now is magnificent.
Do you think leaving Newcastle and Southampton helped you technically as a footballer as well?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt, because we had my manager down there at the time was a guy called Chris Nicholl. He gave me my debut at 17. We used to work so hard, and a guy in the youth team was Dave Merrington. He was a youth team manager, training every single day, morning, afternoon, and that was the life that I wanted. That was the life that I saw for myself. To be honest, I haven't got a clue what I would have done if I hadn't have been a footballer. I just put all my eggs into one basket and hoped and prayed that I'd be a footballer. Thankfully it worked.
YouTube wasn't around back then, so there wasn't an easy.
A lot of successful people we've interviewed have that mentality of one egg, one basket, and I'm going to obsess over this.
Yeah.
Would you say you were quite obsessive at that time?
It was the only thing that I ever did. It was I didn't like school. I only went to school because of my mates. I had a great attendance record. That was the only good thing about my school report, was my attendance record. Probably because that was put in from my dad, as in being on time, not missing a day. I mean, when I was poorly at home, my mum and dad used to kick me out of the bed and said, "Get yourself into school." So that was why. Yeah, definitely, I was obsessed with it. It's finish school, go out and play football till it was dark, and then used to get dragged into the house, and the next day, the same day, was every day.
You know, you said Southampton didn't make you like clean the boots and the toilets and everything. What is it like for a 16-year-old lad in like the Newcastle thing now? Like,
now,
is that totally different?
It's totally different. Yeah, they have guys who clean the boots. They have guys who do the dressing rooms. They're not allowed to do that now. That was under the old YTS scheme, which I think is a great shame. You know, because although it was pretty shitty at the time and horrible, it didn't half teach you a little bit of respect. Absolutely. And looking back, when you get to 24, 25, you look back and you think, that was actually good for me.
Well, yeah, because
absolutely.
My first job, I was working in a butcher and I was cleaning like freezers and stuff and blood off the walls, but like now I'm so grateful to not have to do that but it's character building. Whereas now it does feel like a lot of young footballers have got an entitled attitude.
If there was one thing I could change about football, it would be that. It would be to start that all over again, to get the kids to do all the jobs, clean the boots, etc. But they're not allowed to do it now. I think the government has stopped it, and they're probably on so much money now at 16 as well that their agents wouldn't allow them. And that I think that is part and one of the problems, and part and parcel why we're perhaps not bringing up kids through the football, through the ranks, as many as we should be.
It is interesting because they say also in certain football clubs now they want to take their youngsters to places that they think aren't as privileged and make the players play those players, so they feel what it's like to be, and they have to make their own way there and those sorts of things, and apparently the players just get lost and like people can't make their own way there. It's so bizarre.
Too much too soon is I mean, you've got to have something to strive for. You've got to be hungry and eager and keen and want to do everything you can to get to a certain point. Whereas a lot of the players nowadays have too much money too young. there's no incentive there for them.
So
if they're millionaires already by the time they're 18, then where did they go from that?
Yeah. Or you got a lot of money, way more than all your mates. Right?
Well, you always, if you're in the footballing world as a young kid, you always, you particularly if you're a Premier League club, then you're always going to have more than your mates.
Yeah.
But then that's fine. But then there comes a time where you've got to keep the hunger and the drive and the desire. Whereas if already you've got stacks and